What it do, guys? It's Miggy, Miggy, and welcome to another episode of Random Rambling. And today's topic is not going to be about esports, not gaming. This time we're going to be talking about straight up content. And I actually want to link it back to my first episode, which was about my thoughts on content creation. And today's topic is going to be incremental improvement on your content. So, if you guys remember, if you guys are long-time listeners, if you guys are long-time followers, Random Rambling started off with the idea of unfiltered, unscripted, unedited talks of me just yapping about whatever topic I feel like talking about. And this is why I want to link this back to my first episode. Because the first episode was all about my thoughts on content creation. And if you guys remember, or I'd like to remind you guys that the first thing or one of the big things I highlighted on my thoughts on content creation was about the hardest part of content creation is starting. Because there are so many excuses you can come up with, you can think of to stop yourself from pursuing it. You could say that, oh, I don't have the skills for it, I don't have the money for it, it's not going to be fulfilling and all that. And a lot of the fears actually boil down to, or rather, you find the excuse of the lack of certain aspects in you that prevent you from pursuing content creation as a viable outlet or hobby. As a casual content creator myself, I actually went through a lot of these things, these thoughts, and after thinking about it, after processing it and everything, the two main things that incremental improvement could be part of or could encapsulate would be incremental improvement on hardware and incremental improvement on your skills. So, what do I mean by that? Basically, when I was starting out as a content creator, or I actually started out, the first medium I went through was live streaming. A lot of it was me excusing or finding excuses to not start it because it's like, oh, I'm not used to facing the camera. Oh, I don't have the equipment for it. I don't have a good mic. I don't have a good camera. I didn't have the hardware to actually start creating content. And when I thought about it, now looking back, seeing where I am now, still a small time content creator, of course, but I'm leagues or miles, kilometers away from where I was when I started out for the first time. And let me just say that it was a good thing that I did invest in expensive equipment back then, because there was no guarantee, there was no certainty of having that ROI, because when you're creating content, it's not like one of these things, one of the content you create suddenly goes viral, you get monetized. It's a long process to get there. And this is why I say you should be considering or thinking about the idea of incremental improvement on your hardware. Because not everyone's going to have the liquidity to actually be able to afford a lot of the equipment needed now by the big YouTubers. You want to do it little by little because you're not even sure that you're going to commit to content creation yet. And more so, you start spending thousands, hundreds of thousands of your own money for something that will not return your investments, financially speaking, but you might find a sense of fulfillment. And a lot of the excuses boil down to that, because when I remember streaming for the first time, I believe I didn't have a camera on. I did not have a camera. I did not have my setup right now. I was just using a headset. But I felt like I enjoyed streaming. And when I got through that hurdle, that mental hurdle of the hardware being a big factor, I realized that hardware will get better over time. As long as you put in the hours, as long as you put in the work, if people enjoy the types of content you're putting out, hardware will not be an issue. And just goes to show, right now I'm still running the same setup, the mic, the cameras, They're like years old now, but I'm still putting out quality content. At least I hope it's quality content. All the while, people are still watching and enjoying the stuff I put out, specifically on TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube. And yeah, it's right there. Hopefully, if you guys, shameless plug, at It's Mig Miggy on Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube, because that's where a lot of my content is actually put out in. And moving on from hardware, another thing I felt that made me inadequate as a content creator would be my skills. That's why a lot of it, actually, the brunt or majority of this video will probably be talking about incremental improvement on your skills for content creation. That is the usual mental hurdle, or the hurdle that a lot of the content creators have to go through, because they feel like they don't have the skills to be a content creator. Speaking from someone who's tried all types of content creation, being written, visual, audio, having done everything with the graphics, the videos, all the stuff you guys are seeing, that's all by me. And I may have a background in graphic design, because I do have a degree in fine arts, but even then, it still felt like I wasn't good enough to be putting out the type of content I want to do, and or make. And that is one of the most important parts, where you have to be confident with the content you're putting out, because as I mentioned before, the biggest part or the hardest part of content creation is starting in the space. And if you feel like your skills are inadequate, or you feel like you're inadequate, you have to understand that everyone starts from somewhere, or not everyone knew they were going to be where they are now. If you guys are looking at the famous YouTubers, the other content creators out in the internet, if you ask them for their humble beginnings, you would they would tell you, say, oh, we didn't know anything about editing and whatever. We just felt like we wanted to make videos, we wanted to post it, we wanted to make fun of ourselves, that kind of way. They didn't know how to edit, they didn't know how to use the creative suite that people are using now. They just picked up a camera, they started filming themselves, and next thing you know it, they went viral. They caught the attention of media and everything, and suddenly it just catapulted from that idea, or that humble beginning. And that's why I want to really reiterate the whole incremental improvement in content creation, because every YouTuber, every content creator has their humble beginnings. They didn't know how to do certain things, but that didn't stop them from pursuing that passion or that career path. And that is because there's the idea of incremental improvement, where we are always trying, or at least majority of us are always trying to be better than who we were previously. With the whole incremental improvement idea or ideology, it's a matter of understanding that you will not be the best you are. You will not be putting out the best content you could be making, because you will always be making better content than when you did the last time or previously. What do I mean by that? Let's say I put out a video right now, or rather, if you guys check out the videos I used to make, I did not know how to use the editing apps that I know how to use now. So it's a bit clunky, they were a bit sloppy, they felt rushed. I didn't think about the post-editing process, wherein, okay, I gotta make a thumbnail. I have to be sure that this is eye-catching. And then once I started learning about the whole idea of post-production, my content got a lot better. It got more views because people suddenly started being drawn to it, because I made the effort to make thumbnail videos. I made an effort to put a title, put a topic, and everything. Back then, it was just, okay, done with the video, cleanly edit it, or edit it somehow to make sure that the noise, or it doesn't hurt the ears, it doesn't hurt the eyes. Very bare bones kind of editing. And then suddenly, now, after interacting, engaging with other content creators, oh, you're missing this. Maybe you should try this. Try out this editing app because it helps with the thumbnails. It helps with the graphics. It helps you with the your foundation of good video or attention catching content. And then from there, each time I put out a video, though it might not always have more views, it feels like it's a lot cleaner. It feels a lot smoother. It feels better to be making it. An incremental improvement, not just in the quality of content, but it's also seen in your content production workflow. Let's say you are editing a video right now, 15 minutes of long form content. Back then, let's say it would take you 3 hours, 8 hours, 2 days to edit those kinds of videos. But then eventually you can cut that, you can trim the fat. You suddenly can edit a 15-minute video in 2 hours. That is invisible incremental improvement. Because you've gotten used to the flow, you've gotten used to the process. Video editing now is a lot easier, a lot smoother for you. And that's why I say that incremental improvement is a big part of content creation, because honestly, in terms of hardware, as I mentioned, you're not going to have the money, you're not going to have the liquidity, the finances to be able to get the best equipment out there. And again, good equipment, or rather, sorry, not good equipment, expensive equipment does not always guarantee good content, because certain equipment require a certain skill to have, which is part of the incremental improvement in your soft skills, to be maximized and utilized properly. And that's why, as long as you have the hardware, as long as you have the heart for it, content creation is always going to be about the incremental improvements. You might not see big jumps in your skills, big jumps in your views, but as long as you keep pushing through, pursuing it, as long as you started creating content, the improvement will happen along the way. Much as mentioned with the hardware, you start with a janky camera, you start with a headset. Look at Tyler One speaking. He still uses a headset and the mic, a headset with a mic, and he's still garnering so many viewers, so many followers, because he didn't stop that, or he didn't think that, okay, since I'm making, I have to start content creating with the best equipment possible. No, he just decided he's gonna film himself, he's gonna play games, he's gonna engage with his community, his audience, and even with the lowliest of budgets, you can still pursue content creation. That's in terms of hardware, okay? Next up is your skills. Incremental improvement in your content creation skills happens as you create content. If you never started, it's always just gonna be theoretical. But when you're actually making the content, you start videoing yourself, you start writing, you start producing, you start editing. That's when you have practical application of the skills you have. And as long as you keep you applying these skills, eventually you get better at it. And then suddenly you're gonna look for ways to be better at it unconsciously. You're seeing, when you start watching videos, you start analyzing the content other people put out. You'll be like, huh, that's a cool transition. I wonder how to do that. And then you start Googling it, you start figuring it out. Oh, so I can do that with this. And then what if I add my own spin to it? And then that's when your soft skills start incrementally improving. And I guess all I'm saying is, incremental improvement in your content creation, it happens organically and naturally, because as you start getting the views, as you start getting a following, and hopefully, we're all gonna make it, and hopefully we get monetized, your hardware will incrementally improve because you suddenly have the funds to upgrade your hardware, your materials, your camera, your mic, whichever is needed, so that whichever you feel is needed, so that you could better put out quality for your community, for your audience. And as long as you keep pursuing, as long as you keep creating content, your skills are going to get developed. That is a guarantee. You're going to learn that this is how you should modulate your voice when you're talking on the mic. This is the type of tone you want to be putting when you're creating a guide video, review, or whatever kind of content you guys plan to pursue. And eventually, you're going to feel like, honestly, you don't feel it because when you're creating content on the fly, you don't see it. You feel like what you're doing is what it is. And let me just tell you, let me reassure you guys. The content you're making now is leagues better than the content you guys started with. Because you've now put in more effort, more time, and you have more experience when it comes to creating the type of content you guys are creating. And that is why when you feel like you're not getting the same amount of views you were making back then, take a look back at your first video. Take a look back at your most viral video. And then look back and see where you are now. See how the quality remember how long it took to create that video versus how long it takes to create videos now. Check out how much you've gone, how far you've reached from when you started and where you are now. Because if you didn't push that button, you didn't upload that first video, you wouldn't be here creating the content you're making now. So again, this is Miggy, Miggy, talking about incremental improvement on your content creation. Hopefully I don't know what tone this video is. Maybe inspiring, maybe it's to give you guys real talk. But hopefully this video helped you guys with your content creation journey. If you have any advice or any topics you want to talk about, hear about from me, feel free to like, follow, subscribe, my socials, and I'll catch you guys in the next episode.